Welcome to Bari Banter, where we talk everything bariatric surgery with the people that know it best, the patients. I'm Shannon, and I'm here with my co-hostess with the mostest,
Lita. So sit back, relax, and remember, sip, sip, sip.
Well, hey there, Leet. How you doing?
Hey, Shan. I'm great. How are you?
Yeah, great. We went to the pink trial the weekend and had a few people do their first tries. How exciting was that?
It was such a good event.
It
It was so much fun. It was good.
Yeah, Mum got out there. I love that. I love having Mum out there and being able to support her because usually she's the one supporting me. Curl was out there.
Kel for a 1-year surge anniversary. And
Yeah, Mel was out there. Laura was out there.
a friend of mine who I actually haven't spoken to since high school, so we're talking like 10 to 15 years ago, she messaged me the day beforehand and like, oh my God, I'm doing my first try. Like, it's been 15 years since I've spoken to her, and now all of a sudden she's reaching out to me because she's like, help me.
Help me. And we've got a big weekend this weekend. By the time this comes out, we should have hopefully done Blackall. No, positive thoughts. We will have done Blackall.
We will have completed our first ever trail runs.
Do you ever feel like this is getting out of hand? Like, I feel like I went, at one point, parkrun 5Ks was like, wow, I ran 5Ks. I'm insane. I'm literally insane. And then it was like 10Ks, 21Ks, 40Ks. And this weekend, I'm doing 50Ks, an ultra marathon.
I did a running thing on Sunday afternoon with a group of new girls like in our local area, and they were like, oh, what do you got this weekend? Because I did the try in the morning and then I did a run in the afternoon. And like, oh, what crazy thing are you doing next weekend? And I was like, well, actually. And they were like, you're doing what? And I was like, yeah, okay, I guess. Like, when does it stop?
Yeah, no, it doesn't. No, then it's 100. Then 200.
No, you're on your own for that one.
300,
no.
and then I buy a car and stop running everywhere. But you had some news this week as well.
I did. For anybody who has seen it on Instagram, thank you so much for all the support and everything. But recently I have had to go and see a gyno because my periods have been all over the place, and I thought enough was enough, and I went and saw my gyno, and it turns out that at 32 years old, I am postmenopausal.
Wow. Wow, so does this mean you've been lying about your age? Or no?
Yeah, I'm actually 54. I'm not 32.
I'm actually 56 and my name is Karen. Yeah, no, I don't want to make a joke about it. It actually is a very serious thing. But like, you know, you don't mind opening up and telling us a little bit about what
I don't mind at all. So essentially prior to surgery, I was very overweight and I had polycystic ovaries, and we were investigating that for so long. So the idea of me actually being able to have kids even a few years ago was never really going to be an easy situation for me. And the answer was just lose weight. So I lost the weight now, and turns out that I have now put myself in the opposite end, and I'm no longer producing producing eggs from my ovaries. Wow. So the hormone in my brain that tells my ovaries to release the eggs, I think it's called FSH. For my age group, it should be at about 5 to 7%, and I'm at 0.01%. So
what's the chemical called? FHS.
FSH.
FSH. Is that a male and female thing? Is that like?
I think it is in both males and females. And if it's in, look, I'm by no means a doctor or anything, but I think from my quick Google that I did when I found out, I'm pretty sure that if it's a male who has very little FSH, it means that they're pretty much firing blanks.
Wow.
So it's pretty much saying that the brain is not telling our reproductive systems to work.
And what's the cause of it? Did they kind of give you an idea?
Well, she did say that it's very common in supermodels, it's very common in professional athletes, and it's also very common in people who have lost dramatic amounts of weight. So I had a bit of a joke with her, and I was like, oh, well, you know, I've lost 60 kilos in 2 years. I'm definitely a professional athlete these days, and I'm just waiting for my modeling contract to come through.
It's like, how did you know my modeling contract was going to clear next week? Like, I was going to be on the Vogue runway and everything like that. It's not ideal, but at the end of the day, you are someone who's very optimistic, and I'm sure you're just going to play the cards that you dealt. And I'm sure, is there any way to rectify it, or is it?
Yeah, so I've had a few more blood tests and everything done. So I am going to be talking to my gynecologist this week about it, and I'll keep everybody up to date with what's happening. But generally speaking, I have now started a different pill. It's no longer the contraceptive pill; it's a hormone replacement pill. Wow. And we're trying to essentially trick my body into working properly again. So hopefully within a couple of months, I can get my brain to tell my ovaries to release those eggs. And if that's possible, then I will probably be freezing those suckers so that I've at least got the chance in the future to fall pregnant if I want to.
That's something I've never even thought about, to be honest. Like, you know, this whole situation we're going through, that you would think that would be a
I never thought that I would have to at this, like, I'm single. I'm not with anybody. I didn't think that I would have to make this decision here and now. And then all of a sudden, because I was getting my period too frequently, I now have to decide whether or not I want to have kids. Yeah. So it's a massive, and
at 32 these days, it's a hard decision to make. It is you got to plan for the future, in the future now.
And look, I just want to have the option to be able to have that choice, essentially. So it's not the end of the road for me. Look, I'm fit, I'm healthy, I'm happier than I ever have before. So exactly. At the end of the day, I'm just happy to play the cards that I'm dealt. Yeah. But I think it is also something that needs to be discussed as well, because it's things that people don't talk about periods and those sorts of things very openly, and two, I don't think that a lot of people have weight loss surgery for fertility reasons. But if you do the opposite end of the scale and you lose so much weight drastically, then you can also put yourself in a risk of not being able to fall pregnant.
It's a really good point, and I think it's something we all need to be acknowledge and just be careful of. Get tested. I think I might even just make sure the FHS.
Go get your hormones tested.
Did I get right?
FSH.
FSH levels. Yeah. For future, because I'm not thinking about kids now, but I might want them in the future, so it might not be something.
Somebody actually reached out to me and said that they froze their eggs whilst they were still overweight because they were producing eggs. They froze their eggs prior to weight loss surgery so that they knew that they had good eggs, just in case this happened to them after surgery.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. Honestly, that's probably a hard subject to talk about.
It is and it isn't, but I'm more than happy to share it.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, we've got a guest waiting in the wings. Would you like to introduce our beautiful guest today?
We do. So starting at 167 kilos, our guest this evening underwent the gastric sleeve back in August of 2016. Currently happy and healthy and sitting at 87 kilos after going under the knife again for revision surgery in February this year. She's a real vegan and learning to love herself beyond her body and her size. Please welcome our guest and good friend, Kirsty, also known as Little Audrey.
Real vegan. I love that little...
I'm a real vegan.
I pretended to be a real vegan for a little bit, and then I worked out I was probably the worst vegan ever. I used to go to restaurants and be like, what's the vegan option? And they'd be like, salad. And I'd be like, I'll have the steak, medium rare. Thank you very much. So it's one of those lifestyle vegans. And now I've just worked out there's certain foods that I don't want to eat because I actually do enjoy certain meats, just not the full vegan lifestyle. What led you down the path of being vegan?
It was a few things really. I think mostly as I learnt more about nutrition and was caring more about my body, I realized I couldn't then use someone else's body to fuel my own. But there are other reasons too. I guess vegan for all the reasons. So the environmental impacts and the health reasons as well, because I do think that vegan is whole food plant-based is probably one of the best ways of eating for human health.
Yeah, that was the same thing. I don't want to be fueled on someone else's body either. When you said that, I was like, that's why I cut back on humans. I just couldn't do it to myself. It's the same reason, actually, I stopped having eggs, because Alita was the one that told me that eggs are actually chickens' periods. They just don't look the same.
Way to rub it in, Shan. Here we are talking about me not being able to produce eggs, and you're bloody like, I don't want to eat them now.
Okay, jeez. I didn't think of the consequences of that joke. But for me, I just didn't look at the eggs Benny the same when I knew that they were a chicken's period.
Especially when they're a runny yolk.
Oh, okay, wow. You didn't say that got to a whole new level.
Who thought about eating that like the first time it happened?
Yeah.
Like you watch this chicken poop out an egg. I know that's not correct biology, but and who's like,
yeah, I want to put that next to my bacon. Bacon, on the other hand, no. Anyway,
obviously we could have this discussion all day.
Bacon. She distracted me.
Obviously, we've known you for quite some time now, and we love the person that you are today. But tell us a little bit about who you were, the Kirsty that you were prior to weight loss surgery.
I think I was mainly the same person before weight loss surgery, but I was very self-conscious and unsure about myself, and I sort of didn't know how I wanted to fit in the world, and at the end of the day I didn't really fit into the world. So I used to do a lot of things because I thought that was the right thing to do for my age or my stage in life or to please other people. And now I kind of do things just to please myself, and make my own way in the world now.
Strong statement. You didn't fit into the world. What do you mean by that?
I think that was sort of like physically I didn't fit into the world. Obviously at 167 kilograms, I kind of stuck out
So you didn't
because
stick
of my
in.
weight.
You weren't in the society standards, like, society says you need to be a certain way, and you felt like you didn't fit into that, and that was, what you mean by you
Exactly.
didn't fit into the mold the society was expecting you to live by.
Well, I had no choice in how I stood out, I guess. It was
Mm.
very obvious. Whereas now I kind of can dictate how I stand out.
Yeah.
I had actually, I was doing 5K your way the other day, and I was walking because that's my way. I was walking along the Geelong waterfront, and there was this group of youths, and they were kind of heckling anyone who went past them. And in my head, I'm like, oh no, what are they going to say about me? Because I think a lot of us have been there where we're just
Mm.
yelled at because we're overweight, morbidly obese, whatever. And I'm like, what are these like 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds going to yell at me this time? Had my headphones in, sunglasses on, mask on. And all they could yell at me was, hey, tattoos. And I was like,
You're
they're
like,
yelling at me for something I've chosen to have.
yeah,
rather
you're like,
than
hey,
I am.
terrible call. Yeah, wow, that's
How
kind
did
of.
that make you feel?
I was like stoked.
You're
I
like,
raised my mask.
yeah.
You're like, I'll
Happy.
tell you my tattoo artist if you want.
But having that thing that I've chosen to have rather than being so ashamed
Yeah.
of who I was. And I was ashamed and I would never put that on someone else. It was definitely self-shame. But yeah, it was wild.
It is though, because weight is a very easy target to be targeted for.
It's very dictated too, because like we've spoken about this before in the past in other podcasts, that you end up conforming to the way that you think other people see you.
Did you have a defining moment that made you want to have weight loss surgery?
So my doctor had been suggesting it for a while. And I was one of those people who was like, no, it's the easy way out, which obviously in hindsight, I don't think that. And as my sort of health conditions got worse, so I had pre-diabetes, I had high blood pressure, my joints ached. I was on more medications than my parents, who in their 60s were on no medications.
Wow.
I guess sort of life was happening and I was not keeping up. So in a relationship, starting to think about potentially having children. So I guess that's kind of relevant now, with the conversation today. And realizing that I just couldn't keep up with life. And so
And do you feel like weight
went
was
down
the
that.
big thing holding you back?
It was holding me back in a lot of ways I probably didn't realize until the weight wasn't the issue anymore.
So Kirsty, did you have any complications after your first round of surgery?
If you ask me straight up, I would say I didn't have complications, but when I stop and think about it, I really did. So 5 months after sleeve surgery, I had to have my gallbladder removed, which apparently is so common. My surgeon actually used to take it out as standard, and I don't know why he stopped doing that, but
Because
yeah.
keep my organs in there if they
Yeah,
don't
literally.
need to come out.
Here's your stomach and here's your gallbladder. What? I didn't agree to that. I want that back. No, I just took it out to be precautionary. I also took your left leg.
And your liver.
And just to be safe.
No, I need my liver. Then probably around the 2.5 year mark, my reflux and heartburn was becoming a real issue, sort of waking up with heartburn with reflux. So I then had to switch to the gastric bypass, the Roux-en-Y bypass.
So you did go the R&Y and not the Sadies? Was that?
I had not even heard about the Sadie
Yeah.
until
Yeah, me either. Till a few weeks
Bari
ago.
Banter.
You know, Bari Banter teaching you about the old Sadies.
We're all about educating
Yeah,
people here on
that's
things
it.
we have no
I know.
idea what we're talking about.
I love when someone tells me, and then I'm like, education. Love it.
So you've obviously just recently had the revision surgery in February this year. How did the recovery compare this time round compared to last time?
It was a lot easier, and I think that was twofold. So I knew what to expect. Like I'd already gone through the post-op diet phases and all that sort of thing. Because I think originally it was a bit of a mental struggle as well, going, how long do I have to be on liquids for? How long do I have to put up with this puree for? So I knew what to expect in that regard. And also I was a whole lot healthier going into it. So I was going into it to fix the heartburn issue rather than any sort of further weight loss. So just being that much healthier going into any sort of surgery made the recovery that much easier. It was still, painful and exhausting, but is much easier to deal with.
Did you either time round, did you have any fears leading into either of the surgeries?
So first time round, I know a lot of people sort of have this fear of not waking up, like dying on the operating table. And that was not really a fear going into sleeve surgery, because I didn't really feel my life was worth living.
Oh.
So then going into bypass surgery, I'm like, I've got this life that I've sort of created, and I'm enjoying finding out more things about myself and living a life that I'm happier with and I guess more proud of. And yeah, it definitely had a fear of dying that time.
Do you take a second to, like, because that's huge. Like, what you just said is huge.
Right.
Do you take a second to go, prior to your first surgery, you were like, if I wake up, I wake up. If I don't, I don't. But the second time round, you're like, I want to wake up because I have things I want to do, things that I enjoy, things that I love about my life. Do you sit back and go, wow, I've come a long way between these two surgeries?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I can't believe how much of a negative headspace I was in prior to sleeve surgery, and how much I'd just accepted that as my everyday kind of feeling. So I guess like my biggest fear going into sleeve surgery was the fear of failure, that I wasn't going to lose the weight. But my fear was not that I wasn't going to change my life, which possibly should have been that fear, or what should have been driving me at that time. But yeah, it's weird to think how negative I felt about my life at that point.
Yeah. And that's huge. Like, to be
That
like,
is
I don't mind
huge.
if I don't wake up from surgery. Like, that's big. Like,
Isn't it funny? Because I speak to a lot of people, and leading into surgery, they're all like, "Oh, it's a week out. I'm starting to get really, really like super nervous," which is completely normal to be super nervous leading into such a big surgery. But like, I never got the nerves, and I don't know if it's because I had such faith in my surgeon that he, it was his job. That's what he did. I putting my faith in his hands, or maybe it was just that I, like you, just didn't think that there was much worth living for at that stage. Like, I don't know. It's crazy if you actually think back to it then. Like, that's a very different perspective to sort of put on it.
How do you value your life at this current situation? But it also makes me think, like, now, how do I value my life right now?
Yeah.
As much as it's like I want to think about pre-surgery, how much do I value my life? Like, now, how much do you value your life? Are you living your ultimate value of life right now?
Well, I think I am, but who knows?
You know what I mean?
Ask me that again in a year and I might tell you something completely different about... Yeah.
But it almost, like, I like that because it makes you think, like, where are you now? Because I never want to waste another second of my life because I've wasted too many seconds in the past. So having that question in your mind now to be like...
Triggering you all the time.
Yeah, like constantly making you reassess where you are at. You've changed massively since the first time you had surgery. Your self-worth has obviously gone up, different things like that. Do you think this is directly due to the weight, or is it because of other situations?
I think losing the weight has, I guess, lifted a cloud. So before surgery, I would think, this is happening to me because I'm this size and this is ruining my life and whatever else. But once I lost the weight, it kind of exposed other issues in my life, and I was then able to deal with them as I saw them, or I'm still dealing with them. Like, obviously, life isn't perfect now. It maybe never will be, but at least there's the potential, and I can see that to rectify things and to fix things. So I think losing the weight, yeah, and taking that focus off my body and my appearance has definitely helped.
So it's kind of like allowed you to look at different areas of your life rather than just the weight. So like you're not just looking at like, I need to lose weight. That's the definition of where my life's going. I just need to lose weight, because we all know that. Like I know that. Like for a large portion of my life, my whole life goal was like, I'm going to lose 20 kilos. I'm going to lose 30 kilos. I'm going to lose 40 kilos. That was the only goal in my life at the time. But now, as you're saying, the weight's gone. So now you're reassessing your life. You know, you're looking beyond the weight to be like, what else in my life am I not happy with?
And then how many times do we all use the excuse, wait until after surgery, or do it after surgery? Like,
that was my big thing.
that was my massive thing too. Like, oh, let's go camping at this place and we'll go mountain climbing. Oh, no. Let's just put that off until after surgery.
Like we are living with this massive shadow of society's judgment over the top of our heads. And it's very hard to come out of.
But a lot of the time we create that judgment on ourselves.
That's humans. We are humans. We are humans, and we judge ourselves. Yeah, you are like the master vegan, by the way. Can I just say, like, you are the master of food porn. Like, I look at your Instagram reel, and I'm just like, I wouldn't even eat that food. It's delicious.
No, she doesn't eat the food. She just takes photos of it
and then chucks it in the bin.
And throws it in the bin because it looks too good to eat. Tell us, were you vegan prior to surgery, or is this something that sort of happened after surgery?
So it's something that happened after surgery. When I was at uni, I was vegetarian when it didn't inconvenience other people. So, and I think that says a lot about my personality pre-weight loss as well. So, if it was my choice and my doing, and then I would always choose, say, vegetarian options. On uni field trips, I was always vegetarian, but if someone else was cooking or something like that, I didn't have the confidence to say, actually, I don't want to eat that, or I don't want to eat meat. So it was probably about 3 months after sleeve surgery that I kind of dabbled in plant-based. And then I think probably the 6 months after sleeve surgery that I sort of learnt about animal welfare and became true proper vegan.
So you didn't watch a documentary on Netflix and say that you're a vegan now?
That was on YouTube.
Yeah. Why? Oh, okay. Because Alita's looking at me because that was me. What was that name of that movie?
The Game Changer.
The
We were
Game
actually
Changer.
flying down to Melbourne, and we were going to go see you actually, and we landed, and Shan was like, "I'm vegan now."
Wasn't that the most targeted thing ever?
And
like,
we went to a cafe. Like, you picked us up from the airport, and you straight away we went to a cafe, and Shan sat down and went, "What's the vegan option?"
I'm not going to lie. Like, I've taken a lot of aspects from that vegan life. Like, I do almond milk, oat milk now because I don't need baby cow growth hormone in my life.
Well, look, I like to call myself a flexitarian. I'm a little bit like what you said that you were prior to surgery. So, like, I will cook majority of vegetarian meals. I'm not going to say I'm plant-based because I do use cream occasionally, and I still love cheese. Love it. Love cheese. But if at home, I cook mainly vegetarian meals, but if I'm going somewhere, I will eat whatever's put in front of me. I don't want to inconvenience anybody. I guess I'm pescatarian because I really enjoy seafood and prawns and cheese and
pescatarian. Yeah.
So I just like to eat.
Yeah.
That's what this comes down to.
No, it is. And I think it's one of those things too, because I watched a podcast once about it's kind of a diet at a form. Like people who have weight loss surgery, they go into this diet of where they're vegan, pescatarian, vegetarian. You know, it's a glorified diet. So for me, I talked to my surgeon and he said to me, you know, at the end of the day, you need to live like a caveman. You know, preservatives are the devil. So for him, it was like, if you live like a caveman, you eat fish, you eat meat in moderation because they didn't have it all the time. You have plentiful veggies and different things like that. I was like vegetables, but then, you know, stuff like that. I was kind of like, that's a good way to live. And that's kind of where I've gone now. It's like, I'm not going to deny myself from certain things. Like I don't do a lot of eggs. I will do an egg if it's put in front of me. I don't do a lot of milks, but I will if I have to.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to define my life by a set standard of foods.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you feel like that's...
And I think when it becomes more about, I guess, for me, the animal side of things. So I can definitely see that people use veganism as a way to restrict what they're eating and to be on a diet. But when, I guess for me, I don't restrict in that I eat burgers, I eat pizza, I eat fries. Like there are as many different ways to eat a vegan diet as there are to eat a non-vegan diet. So I eat all those things. They just don't involve animal products.
Yeah.
And
So you're a lifestyle vegan. So you still live a life. You don't feel like you're on a diet. You've found you can cook.
I was going to say half of the
I
meals
think
that
that's
you
what it
eat
is.
look so much better than
Like
the
literally
meals
my
that you get at
my
restaurants.
vegan meals were Vegemite on toast. Like I'm
Hang on, but was the toast actually vegan?
Vegemite and toast is the best.
yeah, I don't-
So we're talking about the delicious food that you are now creating. Food and alcohol used to be a vice of yours when you used to go through hard times. What are your coping mechanisms now?
I think in a way it's still food, but it's in a very different way. So previously I would hit up the Macca's drive-through and it'd be about filling myself up, you know, as much as possible on this stuff that at the end of the day isn't nourishing me, it's not doing me any good, and ultimately making me feel worse. So these days, like, I get excited about making food. I enjoy making my food look good, taste good. I enjoy taking photos of my food. So that's still kind of my go-to coping mechanism, but it's more in a creative way and I guess in a way that I know is going to make me feel good once I've eaten or finished taking photos or that sort of thing. So it's a more conscious way of enjoying food rather than blindly.
That was something I watched the other day, and it's like you eat with your eyes as well as your mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I'm not gonna lie, like your food on
Yeah.
your Insta makes me hungry. Like it's delicious looking food.
About
A lot of votes.
Oh,
You
yeah.
do,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
That's why you've got Shan on board.
Wow.
And those curly
Yeah.
carrots that you turn into flowers. I don't know how you have the time to do that. I was looking at one of
Forget
your
the
photos.
curly flowers. She said oats. I mean,
they're
But, like-
practical though. The carrots are practical. After the bypass, I still can't sort of handle the really harsh raw vegetables. So I just use a peeler.
So turning them into
and
flowers, you can eat them
yeah,
better.
that's it. On that note, your goal going into surgery was to fit into straight sizing. What are some of your goals now?
I don't know why that was a goal. It's because I kind of got to the straight sizing. Like, I'm a comfortable size 12 at the moment, and I don't know how that makes me any different from when I was a size 16 or a size 20. Like, I don't know why that was such a goal for me. It certainly makes things easier being able to walk into a shop and just pick something off the rack. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really mean much. My goals now, I don't know, I kind of just want to help people. I want to show people that, you know, you can change your life. Like I guess I always just want to help people.
Yeah,
That's
how do you
my
see
goal
that
in
as like,
life.
because like obviously with the way you've gone with vegan and food and understanding food, do you feel like it's going to be through the knowledge you've acquired, or do you feel like it's going to be through people seeing your journey?
I think it's definitely going to be a bit of both. Obviously, the knowledge I've acquired is mostly through my own experience, and I will always say, listen to your doctors, listen to your dietitians, nutritionists, surgeons, etc. So I can only talk from my personal experience with weight loss and weight loss surgery. And in terms of my journey, like, I'm more than happy to be open and vulnerable with, I guess, the unexpected side of weight loss, or the things that I personally didn't expect to come from weight loss. And I guess that's more the mental side of things. So I'm more than happy to be vulnerable about how I'm feeling about certain situations if I think that's going to help someone else. And at the end of the day, it also helps me because it shows that we're not weird or different in thinking how we think or feeling how we feel. Because I know sometimes it can feel really isolating to go, well, I am a size 12 now, but what does that actually mean?
It's funny because everything that you just said like really resonates with me because like obviously when we were all bigger, the goal was to be able to walk into any clothing store and be able to wear what we want to wear and not be dictated by the size that we could physically fit into by the shop that we were in. Which that you said, I don't know why that was the goal. That was everybody's goal. Don't downplay that because that was everybody's goal. But now it's so much more than that for me too. Like I've just opened up a lot about some things that people would never admit to people outside of their family. Like I've just told everybody that I may not be able to have kids, which is something that I probably could have kept to myself. But the amount of people who have sent me messages being like, I actually like applaud you for speaking up and telling people your journey. Like there's so much more to this than just losing weight. And I think that's what we need to sort of talk about. And as long as we're not too, like, I don't want to use this word ashamed, but as long as we're open to discussing different things and showing that everybody's journey is different and that there is more to just losing the weight, then I think that the better the whole community is going to be from it.
Yeah, I think asking questions is a very healthy part of this process. So, like, as you're saying, it's like you're acknowledging certain struggles you've gone through. So it makes other people, like for me, example, I was like, oh, wow. Like I never even thought that, not being fertile would be a consequence of this action. So, what you're saying is like you acknowledging that makes people go, oh, okay, maybe I need to ask that question.
But I didn't think it was going to be a consequence either. Like I honestly, I was borderline infertile before surgery because we thought I had polycystic ovaries. And now, in my mind, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
Yeah, but
because
it's also
I've lost all this weight and I'm still bloody infertile.
No, but that's what I mean. Like how, like no one before you that I've watched has talked about this. You aren't the first person. You aren't the person writing this
chapter.
Thing. You know what I mean? So it's like, for me, it's like you sharing this is almost like for anyone coming along now, you're educating people. You know what I mean? So it's like, as much as that is like a hard thing to put out there, I feel like that one person could tell that one person who that one person, you know what I mean? It's like
Terry actually said something really lovely to me today, and it actually brought a tear to my eye. I hate to admit that I'm an emotional person, but it brought a tear to my eye. It's the first time I've actually sort of had a bit of a tear about this whole situation. He kind of said to me that, like, not that fertility defines you as a person. He said, but just like know that you have sort of children within the community who along this way have learnt so many different things from you from the start of your journey to now. And regardless of if you can have kids or not, we're all here for you and we're all learning from you. And I was like, oh, Terry.
That's a very appropriate thing to come from Bariatric Dad.
Yeah.
Whether you have children or not does not change you as a woman. Like you are you, and that's amazing.
Yeah. No, I think at the end of the day, it's like I'm a firm believer of fate.
Yeah.
So it's like if it's meant to be, it'll be.
Yep.
You
Me
know.
too.
So it's like if it's not, there's obviously bigger, bolder, beautiful things to come. I don't know what will the bees, but like, you know what I mean? So I'm the same. It's like if it's meant to be, it'll be. If it's not meant to be, it won't be.
Well, I must admit though, the whole process has been a lot, I guess, easier for me because there has been so many people who have reached out to me and given me
Supported
support.
you.
And,
Yeah.
I had somebody reach out to me today and say, I got told that, or she got told that she was infertile, yet she's now 48 and she's got a 10-year-old son. So, like, people just either offering me, like, hope or, like, thanking me for talking about what I've been talking about. And just, it is, I love this community.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
It is. Well, speaking of which, Kirsty, you are, I would say, since you've had your latest surgery, you are a very body positive person. Like, and I have taken some seconds to be like, Kirsty, you go, you girl. You beautiful woman. You show it. You be you. Embrace everything you're about. Do you feel like that way now you're happy with you where you are at? Or do you feel like you've faced some body dysmorphia and that's why you've kind of like got to a point now where you're like, I appreciate who I am physically.
I definitely have face body dysmorphia. And I actually would not describe myself as body positive. And I guess that's probably a bit weird given that I am a mostly positive person. And I think my personality now, especially as different from before any surgery, my personality is quite positive and optimistic. I actually heard of this concept, body neutrality, which I think I identify with more than body positivity. And that is just completely removing any importance your body places on your worth, like completely removing it. So it's like, um, I have legs, they carry me, I can walk, that's what my legs help me to do. Me, myself, they don't always help everybody, obviously. Um, and they do what they need to do. I don't need to like them physically. They just carry me through life, you know?
Because you said something in your questionnaire, and I absolutely loved what you said, because when we asked you what were your future goals, your part of the sentence was figuring out who else I can be beyond my body. And I friggin' loved that, because it means that you're putting your physical body aside. You're not letting it define you anymore. Because look, let's face it, we've all been there. We've spoken about it already in this podcast. Like, we used to dictate our future by how other people saw our bodies or how we felt within our body. You now want to move forward and not be...
Take that out of the equation.
Yeah, you want to take how you physically look out of the equation, and you want to accomplish things because you are epic at it. I like that, though. I think that we should all start living beyond our bodies and just start living as ourselves. Like, what are you capable of?
I spent so many years what I thought letting my body define me, what I thought other people were defining for me with my body, and it was dictating how I was eating and how I was living and how much I was hiding myself from the world. And now I'm just like, you know what, I'm just going to do this because I enjoy it. I enjoy doing it this way. That's me. People can come along for the ride or they cannot. And that's fine. Realizing that I don't actually have to please everybody, because not everybody pleases me, and we're kind of silly, I guess, if we think we have to please everybody. Kind of just trying to live my life that way.
Kirsty, if you could give yourself one piece of advice or anyone else, what would that be?
I know a lot of people say like just do it, just have weight loss surgery, just go for it kind of thing. But I feel like I had surgery at the right time. I think if I had gone back and said to 20-something-year-old Kirsty, have weight loss surgery, lose weight, you'll be great, it'll be fine. I probably would not have had the same experience I've had now, and I would not be the person I am now, and I probably would still be focused on the physical and the visual and the aesthetics, and I just don't think I would have been able to handle it. So I would never give myself the advice to go for it. I would give myself the advice, like, you are you, regardless of your body, regardless of anything else. Like, own who you are, and try and find peace with who you are.
It's funny because I spoke on cruise ships, and the doctor on board, when I was quite overweight then, and I was being taken off the ship because I had knee problems, and he was writing me out a referral to go get my knee operated on. And he actually said to me at the time, do you want me to also write out a referral for you to have weight loss surgery? And I reported him to HR because he told me that I would be such a beautiful girl if I just lost some weight. And to me, I wasn't in the right mind frame to have that. Like, I think the thing that you need to take away from it is that you need to be ready within yourself, and it needs to be your decision. It can't be somebody else forcing it upon you. It can't be somebody else's idea. Like, that happened maybe 2 years prior to me having surgery. I had my knee done. I had everything. I had my knee operated on twice, whatever. And then it wasn't until I started sort of realizing that it was my decision and I needed to change my life that I decided that it was time to go down that path. Like, you just need to be... You need to do it for the right reasons, and you need to do it for yourself.
Well, I think that's like Matty last week, and he said that, and I was listening to the podcast back, and I was like, that's a really good point he made, is he was ready. You know, weight loss surgery at the end of the day is like having a good PT. If you aren't willing to accept the advice that PT gives you, you're probably not going to succeed at it. You know, you need to take this and be like, this is a great tool. I'm going to use this tool. And I'm going to do this because I want to do this. It's like anything. It's a great tool, but if you aren't willing to take the process and use that tool, the tool isn't going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that was
But it's also like an invasive tool. It's an expensive tool. Like, we're all very privileged to have even had access to weight loss surgery, because there are so many people who don't.
Well, Kirsty, my beautiful vegan friend. Thank you for coming on Bari Banter and joining us. You had some great points to put across, and yeah, I'm just so glad you came on.
Oh, lovely. It has been absolutely phenomenal having you on. Thank you so much for sitting down and having a bit of a chat with us. We've absolutely loved having you on Bari Banter.
Yes, that is another episode of Bari Banter in the books. We hope you got a little something from that one.
Head on over to Facebook or Instagram and check us out, or go to baribanter.com where you can watch past episodes, give us feedback, and let us know who you want to hear from next.
We love you all, and as always, please stay beautiful.